What's up, my fellow cryptopreneurs? I hope all is well for you today in the land of crypto. Okay, so Bitcoin is kind of printing a little bullish flag here. It's not perfect. This is the daily chart. Let's go down to the 6 hour and show you some detail. You can see it kind of busted out the top through a little fakey fake. This is the 6 hour chart. Basically, every 6 hours, it's doing it. Except for once, came back down. You can see it. I don't need to explain it. So lots of times with these parallel channels, I find that you can also draw other parallel lines in there. So in this case, if we kind of do one of these numbers here, it's not perfect, but you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. You can see when you start looking at this stuff and doing it for a while, you can start to spot these spots where you can see it lines up pretty good. So like it would be, I should have just done it here to begin with. The bottom of this wick here, boom, and say something like that. See how that's working? The wick's on top up there, and you've basically got another. It's not perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it's pretty close. See how it's working? I just took that other one off to not clog up the screen with a bunch of junk. But you can see what I'm saying there. See that? So that's a bullish little structure. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin, it could very well break out the bottom of that channel as well. This is the 6 hour chart. You can see some more detail. Let's go back to the daily. These horizontal green lines I have on here I'm legging into a long position. And now, personal story, I wanted to be in a position coming in this time. I wanted to be able to just pretty much be on the spot market. I wanted to have enough money just to do this on the spot market, but I didn't get my goals. I didn't get there. So I'm using leverage, and leverage can be a real bad thing. And I would say hopefully you can just use spot. But a word to the wise: if you have a bunch of money and no one can talk you out of sticking it in this market, don't use leverage. Just stay on the spot market. And if something goes wrong, just hold on to it. I just know there's going to be a lot of really bad stories out there, and that parallel channel don't look very good. Let's go to the 12 hour. Show you a little more detail. It looks better on the 12 hour. So let's see. The textbook target would be, let's see, 54,000 or so. This is 6,000. The target to break out of this channel to the top or bottom would be about $6,000. So if it broke out in the next couple of days, say here at 64, that target, it doesn't have to hit the target, but say it did it here in the next 48 hours, that would be right about, not there, right about here, right about 70,000. And this could also turn into be a my last video I talked about this might last for 2 or 3 more weeks. This could last for 2 or 3 more months. No one knows for sure. This could turn out to just be a range. Say it did come out of here and hit the target at 70,000 and come back down, and then maybe it comes back up and down, and this could just be an extended range for a while. But you can see my green horizontal lines. I'm legging into a long position, and it could be real tasty long, because if it were to come down through here, I have it set up. This first band here is like 60,000, just say 61,000 to 57,000. And this next band down here is like 53,500 or so to 50,500. You can see it. If you want to copy it, go ahead. I'm not saying you should, but the worst case scenario, I could see Bitcoin coming down to say 44 or 45,000. You can see it would be the top of this range down here. See that? I would say that would probably be real strong support. And we're in a bull market, and we're in a bull run, and this is coming soon. The Bitcoin halving. Social media should be able to put enough hype into this event to where Bitcoin would have a real hard time falling down below 50,000, in my opinion. Although April 19th, that means the hash rate is slowed down. Last time I checked the other day, this was April 18th, so it's moved back a day. That doesn't really mean a whole lot. It's just something to look at. And what else I want to say? I want to say something else. What do I want to say? Shout out to what's his name, Steve at Crypto Crew University, that channel. If you ever watched that, ignore the blue channel. Actually, I'll just take it off there. On the weekly chart, we've got this indecision candle here. This red one here with the long wick on top, the long wick on bottom. The body's not super thin, but it's an indecision candle, and it is in a kind of interesting place, right? This top of this massive, giant, long run that's been going on for a really long time. So what that means is the bulls tried to keep the price going, and the bears took over and took the price down, and it basically closed where it opened. Although it's not a super thin body, still indecision candle. And so what you'd want to do is Sunday, when this candle to the right, on the far right, when it closes Sunday, you want to see if the body, if it closes above, say, 68,500, you want to keep an eye. So if this next candle closes like up above the body of the indecision candle, then supposedly the textbooks say, and this doesn't have to happen. These candles don't have to, there's no exact science to this. But if it were to close next weekly candle Sunday, if you want to watch up here, then supposedly this is a continuation. That's a continuation candle, and the indecision turns into continuation. Or if say it closed right now where it's at here at 64,600, then that would signal that this is a correction, reversal. So keep an eye on that. You want to see it close 68,500 or above if you're a bull. But that doesn't matter. That's worth pointing out. It's something interesting to watch. And if you don't know about that kind of stuff, it's good to have that in your toolbox of info. So let's see. That would be, just say 68,500 or above would probably signal it's a continuation to the upside. And below that but even if it is a reversal, right? And even if it is a reversal, this is the weekly chart, right? And in the next couple of weeks, Bitcoin did come back down through here. Say it did come down to 58,000, 57,000. It could still pop right back up, right? This is something to look at. I think it would be real hard for Bitcoin to crash hard, and from this point. But as you can see, I do have that bottom band set up there in case it did happen, because that would probably be just an absolute wonderful life. If you could long in a trade Bitcoin from 50,000, 53,000, you're probably sitting real pretty. But one thing I wanted to say before I go is this is interesting. Let's go to the chart. Let's go to a chart that shows the whole story here. Different pairs were introduced to Femex. I'm on Femex here at different times, so I think this chart here should have the whole cycle. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is interesting, and I don't know if any other channels have brought this to your attention. I want to show you this. So I'm going to circle this here. Let's go back to the big screen. This is real interesting. $30,000 pump in Bitcoin every single time in its history. Now, this is only since last December of 2020. October of 2020 is when it started. Of course, before Bitcoin was never that valuable, so I didn't have the chance to do this. $30,000, give or take. It's not exactly 30,000, but I'm just going to say these $30,000 pumps. There's one there, right? From say about 10,000 up to 40,000. It's actually a $31,000 pump, but we're just keeping it at 30. Keep it simple, right? $30,000 pump. What happens? A correction of 30%. It didn't last long. That I went through that one, trapped in a long leverage long, and got out of it back then when that happened. 30% dump. Okay, and then there's this coming out of there from 30,000 to 60,000, a little shy of 60,000. Another $30,000 pump. See this? Now this has only happened 4 times in the history of Bitcoin. There's one. There's two. What was the correction on that guy? 26% correction. There's another one here, 30 to. No, that's not the one. This next one here, from about 40,000 to basically the all-time high around 70. You could say this, either one of these peaks you could use, and it's close to $30,000 pumpage. Get that out the way. With the correction of, well, we won't use the second peak because the next correction was absolutely massive, and that was down into the bear market. So we'll just use this one here, this first one. Correction of 14%, 15% or so. I think you're starting to see what I'm trying to say here. If you see Bitcoin pump $30,000, there's a correction coming, right? In the next, this time frame, this era that we're in right now. So what just happened here? From 40,000 to, this is actually 73. We'll just call it 70. That's a little over a $30,000 pump, right? Boom. And what do we got here? We've got a correction of 18%, and that could end up being bigger. Let's reset the chart. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because if you're brand new to this, if you see these massive pumps, and it's a 30, even, if it's above $25,000, if it's a $30,000 pump, you need to stop leverage longing and just sit on your hands, right? Because it's overheated and frothy. I just thought it was interesting. 4 times, give or take, $30,000 pump, and it stops, in its tracks and comes back down. So my last video, I talked about what's likely to be happening here, and interesting enough, say if Bitcoin corrected down, so far it's corrected down to almost 60,000, and say that was the bottom. In my last video, I was talking about Bitcoin going to 120, 130,000 in the very near future, but it would take a break on the way up. So let's see, 130,000. Let me draw a line in up here. Would be about right in this ballpark up here at the top of the screen. Boom. That's 130,000. And I'm not saying that it could just stop at 90,000 or 100,000 and come back down. But I just want to show you one interesting piece, and this could be a puzzle, a piece of the puzzle that I'm seeing before it happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could, right? It's just something to think about. So Bitcoin comes down here, and 60,000. Say 60,000 is where the correction stops. So what would a $30,000 pump look like? Oops, that's too much. $30,000 pump would be to 90,000. I thought that was interesting. What I talked about in my last video would be 90,000 right there. And then you'd be looking at a correction. Right, boom. And then interesting enough, say the correction comes down to say 70, right? It doesn't. And where's 30,000 from 70? Right at 100,000. 100,000 should be a psychological barrier. Maybe it just gets rejected from there, and it comes back down, and there's a huge correction, and this and that, and then later on there's a big giant pump up to like 130, 150. But I just thought that was interesting. These $30,000 pumps, they don't go a whole lot more than that, and I wouldn't be surprised, if that did happen. If it eventually did find its way up to here to 120, 130, but it could just be 100,000 in the near future where it tops out, because that's a psychological barrier. But if it gets above 100, then there's probably a lot more room to run just on hype and froth. But be careful, right? And interesting. There's lots of things to look at in there, but this video is getting long. You can see those 4 circles I have on the screen. When you see Bitcoin doing that, you want to probably get real careful and take a break. Get this scribble off screen. All right, I gotta go. This video got too long. I sure hope you enjoyed the content, and if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing. And I saw my last video was doing good, and all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt, and then somehow I lost some views off my view count. Not sure what that's about. But as you can see, Bitcoin's never really pumped over, say, 32,000, 33,000 without a major correction. But anyway, something to think about. Enjoy. Have a good day. Everyone stay safe. Careful with the leverage.